Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Alright, hello everybody and welcome to another video. Now today I'm going to be talking about 10 items that I took with me on my road trip from the UK to Iceland that just made life easier and made life better. On that trip I covered over 3,400 kilometers during the span of an entire month. Now being somebody who creates YouTube videos and does landscape photography for a job, I was working and living out of that tiny van for the entire month that I was away. And trust me, it's a very small space. So these items, they helped with hygiene, productivity, creativity, in-field practicality, and of course, photography. Item number one on the list are these, my 𝘧𝘧𝘧𝘪𝘭𝘪𝘯𝘬𝘴 Vidda Pro Trousers. Now I have a wealth of expensive outdoorsy jackets, enough hiking boots to sustain an entire army, more rucksacks and camera bags than one man could ever need, but I have never ever invested in a top quality pair of trousers until now. Now if you spend any amount of time in the outdoors, you should own a pair of these trousers. They're rugged, stylish, comfortable, windproof, water resistant, quick drying, and can be waxed to make them completely waterproof. Although I'm not sure how that would affect the breathability, so I haven't done that with these. They're practical with an abundance of pockets so you can carry every accessory you could ever need. I wore these every single day in Iceland, and the dirtier they got, the better they looked. You know how you put on a nice posh suit and you want a splash of Hugo Boss aftershave to make yourself, to complete the package? Well, with these trousers, I found myself hovering my legs over my campfire so that I would smell as good as I looked. Item number two is a notebook and pen. Now, I don't like the word journaling. We don't really use the word journal here in the UK. It's more of an American thing. No offense to my friends over the pond, but we don't say journal, much like we don't say trunk to describe a car boot or fanny pack to describe a bum bag. I prefer to call this a diary, or quite simply, a pen and a bit of paper. Suggesting to my working class friends that they journal would be met with the same cynicism of asking them if they want a flat white rather than a cup of coffee. So let's forget journaling and let's just say writing stuff down. Writing stuff down is incredibly powerful. That's how I managed to create one video every week here on this channel for the past 10 years or so. So when I was on the road in Iceland, I would use this notebook to write down ideas for videos, keep track of where I was up to with my day-to-day filming, which sponsors were required for which video, which shots needed filming to complete the story, ideas for newsletters, ideas for how I want my future to look. It's practical as well as inspirational. So not only am I writing down which B-roll I need to complete this video, but I found myself pulling over on the side of the road to scribble down ideas that I've suddenly had whilst driving. So I would recommend trying this. Get a notebook and set aside 15 minutes in a quiet room, open the page, just see what comes out. Just literally vomit on the page and you'll be amazed at what comes out. These are great if you're in any kind of creative industry. And no, apps don't do it for me. It's got to be tangible, physical product. Next up is a photography guidebook. Now, a few years ago, my ego would not allow me to use such a thing. Since then, I've realized that these are a great resource. Nobody can expect to intimately know every area they ever visit. So by having small, handy books like this, it can help point you in the right direction when visiting a location for the first time, or simply give you ideas and inspiration when you're stuck for such things. I have a collection of these pocket-sized guidebooks by 𝘧𝘧𝘧𝘧𝘧𝘧𝘧 and they come highly recommended. Next up is this Padlock Cable. Simple, cheap, and relatively effective camera and laptop security. So whilst on my road trip, I had no choice other than to leave valuable items in the van whilst I went off hiking or doing photography, or even just going in the supermarket. So obviously I would lock all of my valuables, including cameras and laptops, in the back of my van, but it's not entirely impenetrable, and if a thief was to break into my van, they could probably kick through into that rear storage compartment. Well, this was my last line of defense. A simple cable wrapped around my camera bag, through my laptop sleeve, and around the metal frame of my bed in the van. And if a thief was to grab my bag and try and dash off, it would snag, and then the idea is that hopefully they would just panic and bolt. So it's more of a deterrent than anything, but certainly gave me extra peace of mind when traveling in the van with so many valuables. Next up is a Scrubba Bag. Anyone that's been on an extended road trip will know how quickly dirty washing can build up. Well, this is a great solution, especially if you're in a tiny van like mine. Essentially, this is a dry bag, and inside it has a notched or a knobbled bottom, a bit like a washboard. You simply pour in some warm water with a bit of detergent, whack in a couple of items of clothing, squeeze the air out using this valve, and then you scrub for 3 minutes, rinse, and you have freshly cleaned clothes. Now, my advice with this is wash no more than 2 items. If possible, wear only quick drying clothes, because if you throw a woolly jumper in here, you will live to regret it. All right, let me see here. Ah yes, today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. Now, if you don't know who Squarespace are, they're an all-in-one website building platform. So, as a photographer, or perhaps a travel blogger, a van life blogger, you're most likely going to want your own website, but building a website is an absolute nightmare if you go down the coding and programming route if you have, of course, no experience. Well, with Squarespace, it's incredibly easy. You can use their drag and drop system to create a beautifully professional looking website with everything you need. You can register your own domain, you can have an online blog, a gallery, a members section to your website. It really is a great resource for any creative person out there. So if you fancy giving that a go, go to squarespace.com/𝘧𝘧𝘪𝘭𝘪𝘯𝘬𝘴 and you'll get a free trial. And if you like that free trial, use the offer code 𝘧𝘧𝘪𝘭𝘪𝘯𝘬𝘴 and you'll get 10% off your first purchase. And if at any point you get stuck, well, you can just use Squarespace's 24/7 customer support, or simply go on YouTube and I'm pretty sure you'll find the answers there. Next on the list is my DJI Air 3 drone. Now, I am not really a drone guy, but after seeing the specs of this thing and hearing from good friends of mine who'd purchased this drone, I went ahead and made the order with this trip in mind. Now, when filming YouTube videos by yourself, especially a journey like this one that I've just undertaken, automation is incredibly important, and this is like having an entire film crew in your back pocket. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail regarding the specs of this drone. I'm sure there are many great review videos here on YouTube, but for me, here were the selling points. Incredible battery life, about 40 minutes worth of fly time. As I've just mentioned, incredible automation. I can launch this thing, lock it onto my van, and it will follow my van whilst I drive, and I do not need to worry about managing the drone. It all does it automatically. It's safe, secure. There's not going to be any flyaways. The obstacle avoidance on this thing is incredible, although in the middle of nowhere in Iceland, there's nothing to crash into, but still, I had zero doubt when this thing was up in the air. And I'm a nervous drone pilot. I do not like flying these things. Like when it's following you, you can even tell it at which angle you want it to follow. So straight behind, alongside, a 45-degree angle, backwards traveling so you're going towards. That's flipping amazing. The drone has 2 lenses, a 24mm equivalent lens and a 70mm equivalent lens. I went for the Fly More combo with an RC2, which is a controller with a built-in screen. Let me tell you, I don't know how I flew a drone for so long by faffing on putting my phone on top. What a nightmare. This thing is fantastic. With the Fly More combo, you get 3 batteries in this charger. Now, the beauty, the absolute beauty of this is that if you have 3 drone batteries in here and they're all depleted, so they've all got 30% charge, which typically isn't really enough to launch and fly your drone safely. Well, what this charging unit will do is transfer the power from 2 batteries into 1, thus giving you 1 fully charged battery, and it does it fast. But the most impressive thing for me was the photography. 48 megapixel RAW files, seamless stitched panoramics, and steady enough in flight that you can actually take long exposures if you have ND filters. And as I've mentioned, the 2 lenses. This is a serious bit of kit. Next up is this humble laptop case. Now, this may seem like a trivial item, but trust me, when driving thousands of miles, editing hours of video and hundreds of photographs, this thing was appreciated more than it will ever know. Because in my van, I'm constantly playing Tetris with every item. You want to get to one thing, well, you've got to move another. And to have an unprotected, expensive, or should I say overpriced laptop, then it's almost certainly going to get damaged. This thing is thick, padded, sturdy, and has a pocket on the front which holds all of my hard drives and the charging cable for the laptop. And that meant that I could keep everything I needed for a van editing session in one easy to reach, well protected place. And I could just shove it in the back of my van, down the back of my seat, under my mattress, wherever, and there was no risk of damage to the laptop. Definitely recommended. I will be sticking links to everything where possible below. Those will be affiliate links, just so you know, but you know, it helps you know about affiliate links, don't you? Next up is the Insta360 X3 360-degree camera. Now, I have seen so many reviews about this camera online. However, every single review of this camera just so happens to be sponsored by Insta360. However, I trusted the reviews regardless, went ahead and bought this and left a £500 hole in my pocket. Now, the main reason for this purchase was to save on the faffery of creating footage whilst driving. It's an important part of any road trip. In-vehicle footage where I can talk to the camera, through the windows so you can see where we're going, time lapses of the journey, all manner of things. I wanted a one-button system, and this promised to deliver. But you see, what nobody talks about in the reviews is the faffery that you save whilst filming is simply transferred into the edit suite. That's right, editing this is a flipping nightmare. That's my experience anyway. Still, it's probably just about worth it. Next up is a monopod. Now, if you film YouTube videos in a van or any tight space, I highly recommend investing in a monopod simply because of its small footprint. If you've ever tried to use a traditional tripod in a small space, you'll know that the spread of those legs just causes problems left, right, and center. You kick the tripod, you can't get it level, things get in the way, whereas this is problem solved. This particular monopod is made by iFootage and it's the Cobra 2. It extends way above head height and is incredibly sturdy, although I wouldn't use it outdoors in the wind, but inside, this thing is just such a faff saver. Not everything on this list is sexy. Some things are just practical. This is nothing more than a misting spray bottle. I found that when spending any amount of time in a van, this is an absolutely essential item simply for doing the dishes. When I have a cup of tea or a snack or a sandwich on a plate or a bowl of cereal, what I don't want to do is break out the washing up bowl, boil the kettle, fill it, wash up liquid, all of that faffery. It's just nonsense. If you buy a misting spray bottle, fill it with soap and water, and then as soon as you've finished eating your bowl of cereal, spoon and a bowl, give it a spray, wipe it down with kitchen roll or a sponge, and it will clean up straight away. Just make sure you do it immediately, because this doesn't work if everything's baked on. Now, all of those items helped me in some way or another when driving from the UK to Iceland. If you want to watch that series, which by the way has garnered a lot of views, it's been probably my most successful project here on YouTube, well, I'll link to a playlist of that journey below. Now, of course, this is a photography channel and we are getting close to Christmas, so I just want to promote my calendar, which you can see hanging on my wall here. Every year I do a calendar. This one I'm particularly proud of. The images are fantastic, so if you want to help support the channel, the calendar is available for purchase, along with 2 books that I've written. So there we go. That's all the self-promotion I dare do. So until next time, thanks for watching, and bye for now.